All right, welcome back, and welcome to a little journey I'm going to take you on, which is called Intertidal Intimacies. It's a journey into ecological empathy and a literal journey into the kelp forest and all this experience and all my research I've been doing last half year living and working in Chile. So I really hope you're going to vividly be transported to what I've been doing and to really feel the kelp forest just like I did. I'm going to start with a little introduction, my research motivation and question, giving you the learnings from kelp and embodiment as my practice. I will start with a beautiful quote by Neil Manis, one of the people I've been reading a lot during this last half year, which is, how might paying attention to water, really paying attention to it, its movement and relation, its vulnerabilities and gifts, what it does and how it organizes itself and other bodies, open up a different sort of imaginative space, perhaps interrupting some of the foundational concepts and beliefs in dominant Western systems of thought that I have inherited. In other words, if I've been wondering if I think with water rather than about it, and if I invite water to be a collaborator in how I imagine or theorize the world, might I also treat water differently? And I think this is a good start to really dive into this idea of thinking with, and this idea that in our Western dominant world system, we right now have really came to this way of living that we confrontate crisis, really more reactive rather than proactive, and that we tend to put everything into boxes and compartmentalize, and the scientific world is also really working in this compartmentalization, and I wanted to find a way to break out of this pattern and a way to really move into the practice of embodiment, to really be part of the world, to become part of this entanglement in the world, and this is why I have been trying to do in isopractice to really be with kelp and to approach a reciprocal relationship with kelp. And this exploration aims to challenge conventional knowledge making, touching on our hearts and bodies, and allowing us to experience and feel this challenging planet on a visceral level and to really feel the entanglements within the world. And this is why I reached this research question, which is, how does embracing a kelp eye view through embodied learning contribute to the development of a novel epistemology, and how does kelp as a role model inform strategies of reimagining human habitation on Earth? And within this work, I am gonna really dive into the theories of different thinkers and embrace this concept of thinking with rather than thinking about, and really thinking with kelp. And I'm going to use this as really an inspiration to touch on this epistemology of unknowability, of letting go and not know everything, and really find a new way of storytelling that is touching us, that is really embracing our emotions and form a narrative that we engage with the storytelling about our environment. So I introduce a world that might challenge conventional, systematic, societal, and political understanding. So welcome to my first learning, which is called Intertidal Lives, from Resistance to Resilience and Embracing Change. And I'm going to read always a little bit of my experience, because it's also a storytelling, so just listen. Today, I'm going surfing. I suit up in my neoprene to guard against the cold, paddling my way out there. It's a challenging day at sea. The efforts to move forward feels like a rough battle. I try to read the waves, anticipate what's coming, yet each wave pushes forcefully against me, sending me back towards the shore. It's about finding that precise moment, the right gap between the waves and the bundle, which allows me to advance. Despite my efforts, a wave crashes over me. I recover and paddle again, but soon another one hits. Harder this time, and I'm thrown off my board into a whirlpool of powerful currents pulling me under. I've learned to hold my breath and surrender to the ocean whims during these moments. Letting go, being patient, trusting and allowing myself to be carried by the wave. And then I hit with so much power, my whole body hits against the rocks. But somehow it wasn't that painful. How? I should be bleeding. Instead, I find myself cushioned against a soft layer that covers the rock, protecting me like a shield. Who else could have helped me in this situation if it wasn't Kocha Yuyu? This dangerous intertidal coastal area is their home. Here they live, here they thrive, and here under the water, in the middle of the wave, is where I really meet you, crashing into your home. Living in the intertidal zone means being exposed to new conditions every minute. To survive here, you have to both be resistant and adaptable to survive in the same moment. So Kocha Yuyu, which is the algae species you see here right now, which I mostly work with, found a way to, on one side, gripping firmly to the rocks, and on the other side, simultaneously going with the flow and allowing this beautiful dance. So my time immersed in the world of Kocha Yuyu has profoundly impacted me to perceive change differently, to see it not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth. And its ability demonstrates that resilience often comes from the ability to yield and adapt rather than resist, and that softness can actually be a strength. Because Kocha Yuyu found this way of inheriting the airs in their tissue. This is why they are floating on the surface. And I feel that embracing vulnerability can lead to robust survival strategies, offering a blueprint for navigating the complexities of our changing world. Learning number 2, which is ecosystem communities, gifts from the sea, and coastal communion. And just like I didn't know any life before that one, I wake up with the smell of Kocha Yuyu around me on a soft mattress, listening to the sound of the ocean. Stepping outside, a foggy morning greets me, familiar yet ever-changing. Just 50 meters away, the water lines mark the constant intersection of land and sea, the line where the gifts of the sea, the purpose of being here, regularly washes ashore. My eyes already know how to search for them, the dark gifts of the ocean. These multifaceted offerings that arrive with each wave, symbolizing both an end and a beginning, a continuous transformation from ocean to land. Today, everyone helps. Pamela, Aliro, Juan, Coca, and Juanito, and many others. They all came dedicating their strengths, their bodies, to transport these aquatic gifts up the beach to their grassy beds. Here in Topocalma, we live deeply intertwined with the rhythms of Kocha Yuyu, migrating seasonally to our homes and sheds along the waterline. Our days are dictated by the tides. Walking when it's low, fishing when it's high, waking up with the sunrise, going to bed when the sun sets. In our community, much like in a kelp forest, collaboration is essential for survival. One single kelp might easily be uprooted by currents, but together they buffer the ocean strengths, sharing the burden and responsibility. We are a community committed to caring for each other and the land we inhabit, collectively harvesting Kocha Yuyu and stewarding our coastal homes. We are building a collective responsibility for the land, the sea, and the culture that has been carried on for so many years. Living in this community and really being there reminded me a lot like being in a kelp forest, where collaboration becomes essential for survival and where the burden of carrying and of resisting is a responsibility to be split. So it's really about also valuing this tradition and this movement and this knowledge that has been inherited in these communities for so many years. And I see it a little bit like a metaphor as the kelp forest, which is one of the most richest ecosystem, and it's very much balanced. So I see it a little bit like forming this sanctuary, this safe space, this stillness where everyone is protected and everyone cares for each other, just like a nursery. So living in harmony with the natural cycles of our environment and really thinking in systems, existing in systems, and building a network. The strength of community, just like the strength of the kelp forest, is lies in our collective resilience and shared responsibility, underscoring that community is not just about living together, but it's about thriving together. Third learning, ancient forests submerged in silent fluidity and deep time. I exhale, release, and the water welcomes me. It touches my face, my hair, enveloping me, wrapping around me as I slowly descend into this new world, a new time, a new me. The underwater realm holds immense power, the power to redefine time itself. Above the surface, time is linear, productivity-driven, and restlessly fast-paced. Everything must be immediate. Time spent is never coming back. It's something we want to dominate so badly. Yet, below the surface, time morphs into internal, patient, omnipresent force, a slow and enduring rhythm, far removed from the hectic above. Swimming through kelp forest challenges conventional perception of distance and scale. I navigate through a moving forest, diving at various altitudes, floating through the canopy as the entire forest sways with the water rhythmic pulse. Here, nothing is static, linear, or predictable. My air tanks grants me 50 minutes of freedom to breathe and to dive deeper into this expansive blue, exploring this alternative reality. Measured in this aquatic realm, these 50 minutes blur into a different perception, a fluid flowing continuum, a nonlinear view of time akin to an everlasting circle. When diving in a kelp forest, there are no fixed point, there's no infrastructure, there's only this rhythmic circular movement with the tides, and it feels like time really aligns with the times, with the temperatures, with the flow and the currents, and it's a constant moving. It's not a linear thing. And it feels like entering this new realm of physics and perception and existence, because above, time is structured around production, capitalism, and imperialism. But once diving in these waters, it really feels like entering this deep time, like deeper historical layers of our human time, where the time and the ecosystem is not dominated by human activity. It's actually where nature forces still dictate time. And also the kelp forests are known to be one of the oldest forests on this planet. They reach up to 32 million years. So if we think about this idea that water has this capability to store information, it feels a little bit like immersing yourself in the sea of collective knowledge, in the sea of shared wisdom, where just moving through kelp makes you share new perception, learning, and existence. And this forest becomes this collectiveness and an ever-present awareness of ancient wisdom where you just within surrounded by it. Moving into my practice, my methodology, basically everything I've been doing, which is embodiment and really learning to be in the world, to explore the entanglement, and to explore new ways of knowing and of learning. I could not be more grateful to my body, standing here on the deck of the boat. Wind touches my hair, snow brushes my cheeks, the sound of the waves crashing against the hull as we approach the sixth continent of the planet, Antarctica, discovering new lands and creating unforgettable memories, memories etched in the very fabric of my being. The horizon is breaking with ice, land shrouded in snow rises into view. A sight I've yearned for the culmination of every cell's effort to reach the other side. I've pushed my body to the extreme, demanding endurance and resilience, testing the limits of physical existence. 5 days on the open ocean have exposed me to a wholly different realm, to new laws of physics and what normal means. Here, gravity takes on a different weight, distance becomes meaningful, and the Earth's contours become clear. And the blue ocean unfolds its vastness. The world becomes tangible. My present in it becomes tangible. The limits of my body and its capacity to endure can't be fed. So I want to relate this with the thought of onto-epistemology, which basically means that knowledge comes from our embeddedness within the world. So learning with your body is crucial because it recognizes the agencies of bodies in forming an understanding of the world. So relating to nature is deeply embedded in the idea that the material world is not inherent, but is full of life and agency. And I feel that this embodiment approach I have been approaching really is understanding with all four aspects of our being, with my mind, my body, my emotion, and my spirit. And the ocean and the kelp forest have not only taught me about resilience and adaptation, but have also deepened my understanding of community and temporal scales. So for me, embodiment practices help us to actively engage with ourselves and our environment, making us aware of the existing entanglements of all life forms and the interconnectedness of life. And touching back on the beginning where I've talked about the scientific objectivity, I really feel that it often fails to capture the dynamic of our world, and that by weaving different perspectives of non-human entities, just like kelp, we are developing a narrative that is so much more rich and complex and is able to capture this complexity of the ecological discourse. So it's a little bit like being in an ecosystem itself, where everything is kind of balanced out, and it's creating a narrative of different viewpoints, much like a network itself, where the storytelling becomes more robust, more interconnected, and more dynamic. So thinking in systems means that all our actions somehow reflect back on us. So accepting that we are interconnected and acknowledging that a thriving world depends actually on reciprocal kindness and cooperation, and I'm really thinking in systems. So I invite you to take kelp as a teacher, just like it became for me, or they became for me, and allow yourself to engage with your environment. So I say thank you for listening to Intertidal Intimacies.